Hello and welcome back to another episode of a weekly Waypoint. Today we are playing some random obstacle course on Fortnite because, they exist and some of them are really good for giving XP, and I really want to progress this particular battle pass. As you can see, I've just unlocked Korra, and I think, if you don't know, I'm a huge fan of The Legend of Korra, the sequel series to Avatar The Last Airbender. I'm such a big fan, I like it as much as the original, if not more. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I just do. So I was delighted when they added Korra to the game, and I know they're going to be adding a whole lot more Avatar skins coming up soon. I'm just hoping they're not too pricey, because I don't love spending money on Fortnite, but sometimes that's exactly what I do. I did grab Fortnite Crew for this month, just because I absolutely love the skin, and obviously the spare V-Bucks will go towards whatever Avatar stuff is in the store. Whatever I can afford with that is what I shall get. The way I see Fortnite is, at least when it comes to microtransactions, I spend less on it than I do on an MMO subscription, because I'm not subscribed to Fortnite Crew every month, and I don't outright buy V-Bucks without it very often. So I'm fairly okay grabbing skins occasionally, if I do things that way. Some grumpy old man part of my brain, no, you're not coming back in today's episode, Grandpa, goes, back in my day, you used to load into custom games online and they just had the skins for you to wear for free, and paying for skins is weird. But it's a brave new world, and it's one that wants my wallet. At least we're not paying for power. Did that in RuneScape once and it tainted my whole account. That's why I play an Iron Man these days. It just felt iffy. Anyway, today I've got a topic that I would like to talk about. I would like to talk about strategy games, and I'm using the term loosely. I'm using the term in a way that encompasses turn-based strategy games, real-time strategy games, and also games with just strategic elements to them, such as digital tabletop games and, I don't know, other stuff. For those of you who don't know, I'm not a huge fan of strategy games, and I know they're not exactly, like, in the zeitgeist of gaming right now. They're not exactly the hot topic, the hot genre that everyone is playing. But I have always wondered about myself, why am I not into strategy games? Because, I'm a person of moderate intelligence. I enjoy thinking sometimes. I enjoy the odd game of chess, or on lower echelons of using your brain, I guess, Scrabble and stuff like that. But I've never had the patience for a game of Civ, or Age of Empires, and those are two separate problems. So firstly, I want to talk about real-time strategy. The Age of Empires example, real-time strategy. Because as you may or may not know, I am a huge fan, well, I don't know if I can say huge fan anymore, but I'm a fan of World of Warcraft. I am a person who is invested in the Warcraft franchise, who likes that universe, but I've never played the original games, because they are real-time strategy games, and real-time strategy games do not appeal to me. And even in my deepest haze of World of Warcraft, back during the time when once I decided to load up a Steam game and I went, whoa, I forgot what it was like to play games that weren't World of Warcraft. Back in my most lore-obsessed Warcraft days, before they shat the bed a little bit with all of that in Shadowlands, and a little bit before, I did consider playing Warcraft 3, because it's so integral to the events of World of Warcraft specifically. And then also, I'm interested in older games and like the origins of ideas in narrative and stuff, so I was also interested in Warcraft 1 and 2. But ultimately I never tried it, and I still might. But the main thing with real-time strategy is it just feels so stressful to me. The idea that I can't take the time to stop and think about what I'm doing, because for every minute that ticks in the game, a minute is also ticking for my opponent in the game, whether they be human or AI, and they are also working. And I know, obviously, in like PvP matches, that's something I would definitely never consider, is PvP real-time strategy matches, because then like it's all about actions per minute, and like people who have just drilled themselves on the game so much that they know it like that. But I did play some Age of Empires 2 when I was a wee lad, when I was a wee young'un, and I remember when I was a kid, and maybe this is just coming from the perspective of someone who was a kid, I always wanted to spend more time focusing on building my settlement and working towards, building it up, going through the different ages, basically upgrading my village and stuff. But that was just like a function in the game to progress, to beat your opponents, and I was never about that. And now I'm kind of looking at that again, and I'm thinking, well, now that I'm older and I have played games which are more what I wanted at the time, about just building up a village and upgrading your village and stuff like that. That's a different genre. Maybe now I should give Age of Empires 2 another go. Or, you know, I was mostly having these thoughts when Age of Empires 4 was announced and that was coming out, because they were talking about it being like, you know, I'm a fan of history and medieval history and stuff, and they were talking about it being like not just a game, but also kind of like a way of introducing people to that era of history, or those eras that are included in the game, and like being, I hate to say educational, but, you know, informative and interesting in that kind of way, and being like historical fiction in gaming. And that really, really appeals to me. And I didn't have this, you know, desire to learn about history when I was younger, but I do now, so maybe I will go back and give Age of Empires another spin. I don't know how good the older Age of Empires games are for that. Actually, now that I'm saying this out loud, I might have spun up Age of Empires 2 like a year ago and done like one mission and immediately got distracted, because that is the other problem I have with real-time strategy games. The potential, I guess I should just call it self-diagnosed ADHD at this point, right? In 5 years we'll know for sure, but for now we will call it self-diagnosed. It is so hard for me to like get to a point where I'm comfortable with understanding the game and able to just spin up, when I can just spin up the game and I'm comfortable in it and I know what I'm doing, and I can just like go, I'm gonna play this match or level or campaign level or whatever, or I'm gonna do this freeform game, and like I have my not druthers. I always think have my druthers is a term for like if I know what I'm doing, but it's not. If I have my bearings, I guess. I could become huge into Age of Empires, but investing that time to learn that is difficult, because I get into a game and the first thing I want to do, the first thing my brain wants to do is go, yeah. Okay, I don't care about reading all of these tutorials. Even though it's necessary for me to get to the point where I can play the game, I'm like, I don't want to be told to click this and click that and then click this and then click that. I want to play the game, and I'm not enjoying myself until I am out of a tutorial. It's the same reason why Crusader Kings 2, or I guess 3 nowadays, fascinates me, but I've never been able to play that. If we're talking about other types of strategy genre now, it is the same reason why I have yet to really get into Civilization 5. I have like 12 hours in Civilization 5, I checked recently, I re-downloaded it. And all 12 hours are me going through the tutorial like 4 separate times and then getting bored and wandering off. So if I can just keep my focus on learning a strategy game, I think it would be great. Like, I've always looked at these 4X space games like Galactic Civilizations, I assume that's one of them. I'm not hugely familiar with the genre, but I've always looked at those and been like, that is such a cool way to exist in like space in a video game. Like, the closest I've come, which is like baby's first RTS, I guess, would be the Spore space stage, and like the idea of like colonizing space and taking these armies across space and like having dialogues with other alien civilizations you discover and stuff like that. And then there's the Total War series, where you've got like Rome Total War, and then you've got like the fantasy ones like Warhammer Total War and stuff like that. Oh my god, I am missing out on an entire genre full of gold because my brain cannot cope with learning systems or dealing with things happening in real time. So that is something I am really looking to train my brain on, because I feel like I could find so much enjoyment. And maybe it's also just like an age thing. Maybe I was too young for those games before, and maybe like I need to be older with more patience, I guess. Like, I know Age of Empires has always kind of attracted an older crowd of gamers, so yeah, it could also be an age thing. But if you're a fan of strategy games, or real-time strategy games, or turn-based strategy games, and you have any ideas on what I should cut my teeth on, leave a comment down below. I am planning on starting with Civilization 5, because that is a turn-based game, and I think the issue I have with Civ 5, I know Civ 6 is a thing, I don't own Civ 6, but I think the issue I have with Civ 5 is that I have only ever played it multiplayer, and so I've mentioned this before to my friends, I find it really hard to learn things in a multiplayer setting. But if I can just like play a single player campaign, then maybe that would be a decent time. I mean, like, it would be a decent time playing with friends, but like maybe it'll be a way of me learning the game, and then I can play the game with friends and have a decent time playing the game with friends, instead of going, I don't know what I'm doing the entire time. The final game I wanted to mention in this kind of strategy conversation is, you know, a digital tabletop game. I don't know how popular it is, how many people have heard of it. It's based in the Warhammer franchise, I believe, but it's called Talisman Digital Edition, and this is a game that I have played, like, we play it like once a year, me and some friends. I've actually got a couple of different groups of friends who have played that game with me over the years, and the real reason why I'm now thinking all of these thoughts about strategy games and the difficulties I have with them and how fun and rewarding it could be if I actually got to learn them and got comfortable in those games is because that's pretty much what happened last night when I played some Talisman Digital Edition with Reese, because like I said, like every year we pop open this game and we play it, and every year I forget how to play it, and it's not the most complicated tabletop RPG board game around, by the way. But I don't play a whole load of those, and it's stuff like, oh, you know, you've got these different characters you can end up as, and they've all got different perks and quirks, and then like you've got these different stats, and then you've got these different types of cards, and some of them are like environments you lay on particular spaces on the table, which means that when you land there you've got to do this, and some of them are encounters, and there are spells, and how do they interact with each other. And I feel like last night as I was playing, I'd finally gotten a grasp on at least the basic game of Talisman Digital Edition, and now I just want to play it every night. And now that I keep wanting to say have my druthers, now that I'm comfortable in that game space, knowing what I'm doing for the most part, I mean, I'm still a little bit iffy about the center of the board and certain victory conditions, and like I will constantly like go, wait, what is this again, and like reread cards and stuff, but now that I'm mostly confident in how to play that game, it is so fun. And that is why I'm looking at all of these other quote-unquote strategy games in the broadest sense, and going, am I missing out on an entire genre here? So yeah, let me know if you have any recommendations for strategy games to start with. I feel like Civ 5 is probably an obvious choice, and that's what I'm probably going to do, but you might come up with an idea that makes me go, oh, I didn't consider that before. The other thing I want to talk about, swapping to a different genre real quick, is, so remember a couple of weeks I was going through like the, oh shit, survival games are good phase. This week I guess I'm going through another kind of genre fixation, which is quirky little roguelikes on Steam. Except when I say roguelike, I'm not talking about like action-y roguelikes like Enter the Dungeon and stuff like that. I guess it kind of ties into this strategy feeling that I've been having, actually. Basically, I saw Tales of Maj-Eyal on sale, and I remembered that that is a game that I own and played a little bit of in 2015, and I am not a veteran of Tales of Maj-Eyal, by the way. I will go and look at my playtime for you. I have a whopping 5 hours in the game. So yeah, if you're not aware, Tales of Maj-Eyal is a more of a traditional roguelike in that it's like a top-down RPG where time freezes until you like make a move, and it's very detailed with like character sheets and attributes and item stats and that kind of thing, and there's like loads of different classes, and I've heard that it's a lot like Ancient Domains of Mystery, or ADOM, if you've heard of that game. I've never played that game, but I know it's beloved. But yeah, I really like it. It's very like emergent narrative of, you know, it's not like a randomly generated narrative like something, say, Dwarf Fortress can be. I believe Tales of Maj-Eyal has a set world with lore and stuff, and even a shared world. It's not like, it's weird, it's not like online multiplayer, but there is like a chat room that shows when people get achievements and stuff. But yeah, it's a very complicated game in terms of reading. Again, this goes back to the whole like strategy game thing. I feel like if I became super familiar with this game, I would have a really fun time with it, so that's what I'm kind of trying to train myself to do. And I guess it's not complicated, it's overwhelming. I guess there's a difference there. It can be very overwhelming if your brain is like mine, to be hit with a wall of text when you just want to get into the gameplay. But you know that if you skip the wall of text and get into the gameplay, it's not going to be good gameplay because you won't know what you're doing because you skipped the wall of text. But yeah, look it up. I think it was made in like 2009, but it looks like a much older game. It's pretty, it's pretty indie and pretty ugly. Those two don't always go hand in hand, but they do today. And I'd like to make some kind of like YouTube content on it. I think the way that style of roguelike is might make it too long for a roguelike ramble, because the idea is, you know, the default difficulty is, you know, permadeath, but I'm pretty sure you can get your character to like level 200 or something, so it's more of like a playthrough of a thing. But there is also exploration mode, which means that you don't lose your character when you die, and there's There's another mode in the middle where you have multiple lives, but you can run out of lives and die and lose your character. But yeah, when I'm more familiar with Tales of Majayal, I'd love to do some kind of content based around that. It might be good for live streams or something. Speaking of which, by the way, I live streamed Elder Scrolls Online the other day. I know I've tried to do kind of like a quote-unquote playthrough character in that game before, but we're trying again. So go check out that VOD if you're interested in that kind of thing. We're playing through the Ebonheart Pact storyline. But as I was saying, yeah, these kinds of Steam games are interesting me right now. I picked up Wildermyth, which is a much more modern indie game, which is it kind of is like a randomized narrative RPG. People have described it as like, oh, if you don't have enough friends to play Dungeons and Dragons, this is probably the game for you. And it's one of those games where I bought it, I downloaded it, and I played a bit of it, and I went, this is really cool. I like this game, but it's not sticking with me right now, so I actually did refund it. Simply because it was a pretty impulse purchase and I don't really have the money to just be throwing at games that I'm not going to be playing right now. But I believe it's still on sale until when this video goes out, so that's not very helpful, I'm very sorry, but it's pretty cheap. It's like 20 quid, so if Wildermyth sounds like it interests you, maybe you should go have a look. It's kind of posited as like this storybook experience where the tale is told to you, and every now and again you get to pick a little bit of dialogue of like, oh, and the character felt this way about it, and they're like, oh, you know, oh, so-and-so's in trouble, and then like you can choose between, oh, and I bet he's just fine, or, and I've got to help him because I'm worried about him, and oh no, what if he dies? I love him. That's very simplified. It's not that like badly written, but it's a little bit like what I imagine that Miitopia game is. Is that what it's called? Yeah, it is. Shit, now I want to play Miitopia. Damn it. But it's got this kind of papercraft aesthetic to it, and yeah, like I said, it wasn't gelling with me. It wasn't really what I wanted to play in the moment, but if you're interested in those kinds of games, it might suit you. Now, very quickly, I want to talk about some videos on the channel because I'm very much in a position right now where I have a lot of half-finished video projects, and I think I've mentioned this before. So I do still have some Dragon Quest Builders footage to edit together, even though I haven't been playing that game in a little while. So again, this isn't like a promise. I don't know what I'm going to edit next. I try and choose something that kind of like tickles my fancy because, as always, this is a hobby and I'm not getting paid to do this, and so we have to run on you know, interest and esteem and hobby and enjoyment. Otherwise I will end up burning myself out and this channel will die, which will be sad. But I know there was someone on the last Dragon Quest Builders video saying they were looking forward to more, so if you are watching this, I just want to let you know there will be more in the future. There is more footage. Also, I mentioned a few weeks back on the Weekly Waypoint playing Enshrouded. In fact, I showed gameplay footage of me playing Enshrouded, and I do have enough for a short video on that, and that's something I've been tinkering with because I have a few videos on my hard drive, or I guess I have some footage on my hard drive which would amount to like a 15-minute long video, and I've been going, oh, that's not really long enough, that's not really enough footage for a video. But now I'm stopping myself and going, well, why not? You know, like, what's the harm in having some shorter videos, especially if it's going to put me off making the video if I'm not really playing the game right now. So this coming Wednesday there is a video coming out which is actually a flip through the Retro Magazine part 2, because I thought that would be half a video, and then I realized it's a full topic, it could be its own video, so I just kind of wrapped that up and scheduled that. Anyway, we're approaching 18 minutes. I didn't realize I've just been rambling here. So thank you very much for watching this episode of Weekly Waypoint. Again, if you've got any recommendations of strategy games I might want to check out, let me know. I am going to embark on this journey of trying to make myself enjoy strategy games, or at least learn them, and who knows what content may or may not come of that. Hopefully you will tune in and watch alongside me. I will see you in whatever I make next.